we have made a little change because our colleague Elisa Fereirra, as you know, she is a current member of European Parliament. I hope that in the future she will join us in the Former Members Association. Excuse me, yeah. Well, it's not a good example. Yeah. No, I said that Elisa, well, she has to go to another meeting like a dedicated member of the European Parliament, yeah, and now she has given us the possibility of talking, of listening to her. She's a distinguished member of the Economic and Monetary Affairs Committee, and I think she has been rapporteur in some of the most important reports on this important issue. So I give her the floor, and I thank her because she accepted this challenge at short notice. Yeah, this is really, I really appreciate her presence here this morning. Elisa, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much for this invitation, and this is a sincere thanks to you, because it's such a pleasure to have the possibility to exchange with colleagues, because we remain, I mean, some of you I know very well. I'm signaling and recognizing several of the members. And I think once we go through this Parliament, then we understand the culture, and I think we all benefit from past experience and from the knowledge that should not disappear once you leave this place. It's important that we go on exchanging notes and exchanging ideas and defining in common some strategies. In particular, I'm very honoured to meet here again Enrique Barón Crespo, who is someone that has had a very proeminent job and was a very strong element in the European Parliament, and still keeps this interest for European affairs. And it's very important that from time to time he organises events and discussions, and I thank you for this. I won't name all the elements that are here, like Manuel Porto and others, because it's, I mean, I would spend my time doing that. What I'd like to share with you is the feeling that we need to go back to basics in European affairs. What do I mean by this? We are in a crisis. All the world had a crisis, but in Europe we are taking too long to get out of it. Now we look at the United States, we look at China, other blocs, and we see that Europe is being signalled internationally as the element, as the bloc that hasn't managed yet to get out of the crisis. And even for me, as and I am a very pro-European member of this Parliament, and I've always been a very pro-European economist and active in society. It's not easy to answer to the people that put questions to us on what is Europe doing, particularly young people, particularly unemployed, and they ask us how come that Europe doesn't find a solution to solve this problem. And having gone through all the phases of the management of the crisis since 2008, I think we have to go back to basics and try to figure out what kind of elements are missing in our common project, so that we will not fall into this trap of having the long-term stagnant economy, similar probably to the Japanese situation, but on the other hand with much heavier social costs and with much heavier social and political risks. And the last elections were already a sign of this. People are saying, well, the European project has no answers, and so we are moving away from Europe, away from democracy, away from politics. And this is extremely dangerous. And at least since the 70s, I have not seen such a violent risk and important risk of losing control of what is happening in the European project. Behind it, we have a lot of success: the single market, the single currency, but I believe that the present situation is also a consequence of other elements that changed in the framework on which we are used to work and with which we have not managed to get into new terms. Globalization is something that Europe didn't properly address. Enlargement, probably we did not manage sufficiently well, although it is a positive move, and I would never regret it. And lastly, the increase of the power of the financial sector, which became the kind of the strongest element, being the sector that managed to get the most out of globalization and the technological change in the whole world. What have we done? I think we did a lot in terms of regulating the financial markets, together with the Americans, with the Frank-Dodd Act. On this there is some progress, definitely. Banking union is probably the sign of this movement. I'm not that optimist, and I speak with you in a very frank way, in relation to the management of the macroeconomic issues, particularly because we didn't accept and we didn't incorporate some facts. One of them is that there is no invisible hand that in a single market and in a common currency shared by very different economic regions with different levels of competitiveness. There is no single invisible hand that will promote convergence. This was probably the most important outcome of the research done by the Commission on the 10 years of the Eurozone. It's that divergence increased. It was not the opposite. Then we have got to revisit whether the reshaping of convergence or the increase or the combat to these divergences can be done purely on the basis of the regional funds and structural funds. It has proven that it is not enough. We have to understand that single rules for the currency, single rules for the market, do not necessarily bring the same impact and the same sharing of gains across Europe. So we have to revisit all this agenda. We have got to revisit, if it is possible, that we have inside the currency area in particular, where member states let go of the exchange rate. They are very controlled in the budget, so they cannot use the fiscal instrument. They don't have the monetary instrument. Can we live without any sort of anti-cyclical instrument at the Eurozone level that, when the economy is down, can stimulate the economy. We are now making up this investment fund by the Juncker initiative, the Juncker Commission. It's a positive thing, at least because it recognises the need for something else. But is that enough? Is that the solution? Can we live with so much effort put by the tax system on citizens and still have unanimity in the Council to deal with taxes? Can we live with tax competition, tax havens, and not a minimum of coordination in the tax regimes of different member states? And these are some of the issues that in 2012 started to be discussed in the context of the blueprint by the Commission that paralleled the Herman Van Rompuy or Four Presidents initiative. But in a nutshell, we are now going back to this kind of discussion with the promise by Jean-Claude Juncker to open the debate on the more deep and broad discussion of how Europe can function, but definitely we cannot ignore the reality. And avoiding to make this kind of discussion to find our way out and limiting ourselves to very demagogic and superficial discussions like some countries did the wrong and others did the virtuous thing and now they are got to be punished. This is childish but very, very dangerous kind of speech, and I think we are still paying the price in political terms of not having been serious in the analysis of what was functioning and not functioning inside Europe, and causing near the citizens the most violent agenda against Europe and against our capacity to be serious and to keep to our principles in times of crisis. This is just the kind of elements that I think you should, and I hope you will contribute to this discussion, because this is the most essential discussion we can have on European affairs at this historical moment. I finish by apologising. I would like to have stayed the whole morning with you. I couldn't, because in my group we are defining the strategy against LuxLeaks, and so it's a very political issue, and I cannot avoid having a strong participation as a coordinator for the economic and monetary affairs in my own group. And because this invitation came as Enrique very, very suddenly, I could not say no and to be here. But I didn't want to, to avoid or to not to be here and to share with you these concerns. These concerns for me are absolutely vital, and so all the discussion and all the enlightening that could come from you is most welcome. Thank you very much.